This is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous, good looking friends. What is going on here? Does anybody not find it strange that Meghan Markle, Prince Harry are on all of these covers? And in the main tabloids in the United States, we have Savannah Guthrie and her missing mom, Nancy, that has been consuming the mainstream media. I think it's obvious what's going on here. We have in the United States the Nancy Guthrie story distracting the masses away from talking about the Epstein files. And then in the UK, you have Harry and Meghan being used as a distraction to not focus on the royal family. And I think, it's becoming more obvious as we see Harry and Meghan being shoved down our throats when we all know that nobody gives a shit about this couple. So why are they constantly being shoved down our throats? And the only thing that I can think of is that they're being used to keep us distracted, keep us from focusing not only on the corruption and the filth that this Epstein class represents, but also to keep us dumb and stupid. Look, I get there are people that enjoy these magazines because it is a form of escape, but this is so obvious. It really is obvious. I don't think it's an accident that these two assholes seem to be everywhere now ever since the whole scandal blew up with Epstein. I think they truly are being used as a distraction for the royal family. So when we look at all of these stories that are making the covers, do I think Meghan Markle is behind all of them? No, I don't. It very well could be that Prince William's team, or now Fergie and Andrew's team, could be planting these stories in the media. You know how Harry admitted that there's leaking and planting and leaking. So let's go ahead and go through some of these and see what we think, starting with the Globe magazine with this headline. It says, Harry and Meghan's worst nightmare, marriage under pressure, going broke. Yeah, I somehow doubt that, but let's get into it. Here we have breaking news. Desperate for cash, Harry and Meghan's friendship with billionaire Tyler Perry blows up over an unpaid loan. The article begins, Rogue royals Prince Harry and Duchess Meghan are going broke, sources tell Globe, and apparently they're in deep with former bestie Tyler Perry. They can't pay back a secret $14 million loan he extended them. The billionaire Medea star, who let the Duke and Duchess of Sussex crash at his $18 million Beverly Hills mansion and dispatched his security team to protect them when they moved to Montecito, is allegedly furious the money-challenged royals are ghosting him. He's saying he's finished, he's done everything in his power to help them, an insider tells Globe. Yeah, somehow I doubt that. I think it's the other way around. Maybe Meghan has been trying to get in contact with Tyler Perry and he's not returning her calls. The problem is they would not call him back. A Perry insider denies there's any dispute with the couple. Tyler was recently asked by the UK Sunday Times to describe how he helped Harry and Meghan settle in America after the couple ditched their palace duties in 2020 to seek Hollywood fame and fortune. I didn't, the beloved 56-year-old producer, writer, director insisted. Meghan is from California. She knows California well. So there was nothing to prepare them for. Well, wait a minute. That's kind of a lie. Didn't Tyler Perry go on Meghan and Harry's mockumentary and talk about how he offered Harry and Meghan refuge in his mansion until they could find a place in California to live? Didn't he give Harry and Meghan the freedom flight to escape the racist UK? Now, why this article is bringing up an article from December of 2024 is beyond me, but wasn't very flattering in the response that Tyler Perry gave about Harry and Meghan. What this is telling me now is that they just want us to forget the whole big to-do around Megxit, because that didn't work out so well, did it now? And many have now come to the realization that Megxit was a big fat lie. Various reports suggest henpecked Harry, 41, and his domineering wife are struggling to maintain their high society lifestyle since all their financial projects have been abysmal failures. They had such big plans for 2025 and really believed it would be their breakthrough period. Instead, it turned into the year from hell, spills a Hollywood source. Former A-list pals in America and Harry's hoity-toity friends in England have jettisoned the prickly pair, finding their self-obsessed and delusional tendencies too much to bear, insiders say. The try-hard Duchess suffered global ridicule after her self-indulgent Netflix cooking show With Love Meghan bombed. With just 2 million views, it ranked 1,224th among programs on the streamer between July and December. What's more, Meghan is desperately pitching shows tied to Valentine's Day and the 4th of July to Netflix bosses, but reportedly nothing has materialized. Meghan's as-ever lifestyle brand also appears to be tanking after her website briefly displayed inventory totals showing nearly 500,000 jars of jam, honey, candles, tin flowers, and bottles of wine were unsold and collecting dust in stockrooms, according to published reports. One source contended the company is stocking up for global expansion. While a royal rep calls claims the couple is having financial difficulties categorically untrue, and even though Harry scored a $27 million payday from his 2023 memoir Spare, the cost of their high-flying lifestyle is devouring their cash, insiders say. They're under a huge amount of pressure, says a source, as they pay off a multi-million-dollar mortgage and incur security costs to a tune of $3 million a year. They're also reeling from a brutal staff revolt that's seen nearly 25 employees walk away, while their vaunted charity, Archwell Fugazi Philanthropies, is reportedly under the microscope due to alleged financial discrepancies and ballooning expenses. Despite Harry is begging his father, King Charles, for financial help, says the source. Harry would return to the UK in a heartbeat, says the source, adding life in California hasn't panned out the way the prince had hoped. It's been a nightmare. So what do you guys think? Where do you think this article came from? Did it come from the Sussex camp? I personally don't think it did because it was overtly negative, and normally when there is a so-called controversial failure article about these two, Meghan always walks away looking like the empowered, strong female woman, even though Harry and Meghan are drifting apart. She manages to make Harry look like the loser in the relationship. But in this article, both of them look like the losers. Now, do I think Prince William's team had anything to do with it? No, I don't, because it just seems like they are picking sources from other media outlets, like case in point, the article with Tyler Perry. I think they're pulling from a whole bunch of different sources that it has already been out there. So in that sense, they can't really be sued for it. But in this case, I think somebody, whoever wrote it, doesn't say who wrote it, just needed to get an article in there to sell papers. And I think that it is a neutral source at this moment. But share your thoughts. Now, the next cover story is from Closer, which is a UK tabloid across the pond, where it says, Secrets and Lies, Fergie shock tell-all revenge. Terrified Meghan tells Harry she'll expose our separation. Let's take a look and see what that's all about. Now, this jumps out at me because I think really this is one of the very rare times I've ever seen Meghan be included with Fergie and Andrew. I think over the last 6 years, we have seen Harry and Meghan tiptoe delicately around Andrew and Fergie. And even in Harry's book, he makes it a point to say that Meghan didn't know who Andrew was. So I think there is something here. As a result of going through these Epstein files, I am of the belief and leaning towards Meghan infiltrating the royal family as a result of Epstein getting back at Fergie for what she did to him. And I feel like this could be a warning shot, now coming from, possibly, the Yorks PR teams. But you guys decide. Meghan's anxiety over Fergie's bombshell tell-all. Sarah Ferguson could be ready to spill all about the royals, and sources tell Closer that the Sussexes have deep concerns. She's been rumored as the next royal to write a tell all book, which comes as she and ex husband Andrew Mountbatten Windsor landed in yet more hot water for their ties to late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. And now, sources tell Closer that Sarah Ferguson has been offered a huge advance by a leading publisher, and news of her memoir has apparently left Prince Harry and wife Meghan fearful about what she could dredge up. An insider says Sarah could soon put her version of events into print, prompting anxiety over what she may choose to reveal. Harry and Meghan, in particular, are increasingly on edge amid the growing speculation and are deeply concerned about how they could be portrayed. Sarah has even gone as far as to say that she dislikes Meghan. She's not mincing her words, and that's what the Sussexes are worried about. In what was dubbed Megxit, the Sussexes stepped away from royal life in 2020 for a fresh start and now reside in California with their two children, Archie and little Betty. The couple infamously dropped a string of allegations about the royal family in the wake of Megxit, including that concerns were raised about how dark their child's skin might be when he was born, that Meghan was denied mental health help, and despite reports to the contrary, that Kate made Meghan cry ahead of the Sussexes' wedding. And now, sources say Meghan is terrified her rows with the royals will be exposed after they officially split from Harry's family. Our source says Meghan has told Harry she's terrified that their rows with the royals after they officially separated from Harry's family will be exposed. Sarah could go into real detail about what actually happened behind the scenes around Megxit, the conversations no one ever heard. There were also comments made early on that would really worry Meghan if they were included in Sarah's book, including her saying she couldn't believe she was expected to curtsy to someone in this day and age, and dismissive remarks about William and Catherine, who she felt were stuffy and boring. There was extremely bad blood between Sophie and Meghan, too, and the palace worked very hard to bury it. If Sarah revisits that feud in her book, it would cause a major headache behind the scenes. It's believed Sarah also wants to go deeper into the bridesmaid issue between Meghan and Catherine and explain what really went on. Sarah knows exactly what happened, who said what, and why it spiraled the way it did. Having both married into the royal family and faced their fair share of scrutiny, Fergie, 66, who wed Andrew in 1986 before they divorced in 1996, 4 years after announcing their separation, and Meghan seemingly had plenty in common. When they first encountered one another at Royal Lodge in October 2016, Fergie was one of the first to meet Meghan and helped get her up to scratch with royal protocol, even teaching her how to curtsy for the late Queen. Fergie received an invite to the Sussexes' 2018 wedding, marking her return to major royal events, and she later said she felt honored to attend the big day. Rumors then emerged claiming Fergie had been left unhappy with her nephew and his wife when they announced their first pregnancy on the day of Princess Eugenie's wedding in 2018. The former royal later said in an interview that she doesn't really know Meghan, seemingly confirming their lack of closeness. Harry still chats to Eugenie on the odd occasion, but the relationship between Meghan and Eugenie has gone beyond repair. Sarah has never forgiven that, the source adds. When the U.S. Department of Justice released the Epstein files, 3 million documents relating to the convicted sex offender, Fergie soon found herself under fire, along with Andrew, 66. It emerged that she visited Epstein with Beatrice and Eugenie after he was released from prison in 2009, with emails detailing flight arrangements. Other emails showed Fergie calling Epstein, who died in 2019 while awaiting trial on sex trafficking charges, a special friend and the brother I've always wished for. As the scandal engulfs both her and Andrew, Fergie, who's been dropped from her roles at 7 charities and had her upcoming children's book scrapped by a publisher, is said to be keen to tell her story. There have also been reports that she is struggling financially. Insiders claim a major payday could be on the cards, and the palace is on high alert. A source says senior royals are said to be deeply anxious about who else might end up in the firing line should Sarah decide to take revenge. Names being whispered include the King, Queen, Catherine, and William. The palace is already bracing itself for fallout because this time it isn't just about hurt feelings or old grievances. It's about money. From Sarah's point of view, this book could change everything. She's struggling, she feels frozen out, and suddenly she's being told her story is worth a fortune. I somehow believe there's a kernel of truth here. I think if push comes to shove and Fergie gets really desperate and needs to make money, she is going to sell out. She will definitely sell out. And believe you me, there will be someone willing to pay her for it. If Fergie could write a book explaining where this whore came from, if indeed she did come from the cesspool known as the Epstein network, then let it all out. Let it all out. I guarantee you that will be a New York Times bestseller. Fergie has nothing to lose at this point because she's lost it all. So go for it, girl. Let it all out. Let the truth come out about who this woman that we are told to call Meghan Markle is. Because I guarantee they are the key to unlocking the truth about this woman that infiltrated the royal family. I don't think it's in Fergie to hurt the royal family because if it was, she would have done it already. And she hasn't. What Sarah may do, which I can see happening, is her holding this tell-all book over Prince William's head as a way to ensure Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie don't lose their titles and place in the line of succession. I think that's a possibility. I think she would do this for her daughters to ensure that they have some type of legacy. Yeah, absolutely. But will she go all out on Meghan Markle? I think she could, and I think it would be a bestseller. Now, moving into this quick little story, I think is from the Sussex team. Even though it's a small one, it says, Meghan, the truth always comes out. Somehow I feel like Meghan is behind this one. It says here, as the fallout around Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and his friendship with the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein continues, the situation has left the royal family in crisis. King Charles, Prince William, and Catherine even went as far to make a rare public comment on the situation. And as the scandal reaches boiling point, we're told Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are feeling a sense of relief that the spotlight is off them as tensions with the Waleses return to the foray. Meghan and Harry have long felt the royals have used them as scapegoats to distract people from much more damaging issues, such as Andrew and his ties to Epstein, an insider tells Heat. It was always hard for them to understand how that could just be swept under the rug and ignored while they were being vilified over so much less. So to have Andrew finally facing some consequences has got to feel vindicating for them. Our source continues. Harry and Meghan are immensely relieved that they distanced themselves from the whole institution years ago, and after all they endured, no one could blame them if they felt a bit smug about it. They've been saying for years that uncomfortable truth can't be buried forever, and now they're being proven right. The latest round of revelations from the Epstein files show the depth of the friendship Andrew and his ex-wife, Sarah Ferguson, shared with the sex offender, leading the king to say that Buckingham Palace is ready to support the police in investigating the allegations against his younger brother. Meanwhile, William and Catherine said they are deeply concerned by the continuing revelations and said their thoughts remain focused on the victims in their first public statement on the scandal, which continues to overshadow royal engagements. William and Catherine were heckled when they visited Scotland last month, while the King and Queen Camilla were asked about it during recent engagements. With pressure over Andrew mounting on the royal family, we're told that Meghan has little sympathy for her in-laws, and both she and Harry feel that William and Catherine deserve this. The fact that this mess has landed in William and Catherine's lap won't earn them any sympathy from Meghan. In her view, they chose the side of the institution that let this go on for years, so now they're going to pay the price for that, our insider says. They'll be dealing with the fallout from this mess for years to come, and Meghan and Harry are relieved to be away from it all. Once dubbed the Fab Four, William, Catherine, Harry, and Meghan were seen as the future of the monarchy, but relations between the couple soured when Harry and Meghan quit royal life and moved to the US in 2020. In recent years, the pair have not held back with sharing their feelings about Harry's family, making numerous damaging claims about William and Catherine in interviews and in Harry's memoir Spare. Harry has also said that their final engagement, the Commonwealth Day service at Westminster Abbey in March 2020, alongside his family, felt strained. He said, "I felt really distant from the rest of my family, which was interesting because so much of how they operate is about what it looks like, rather than what it feels like. It looked cold, but it also felt cold." One source adds that as the Epstein scandal continues, Harry and Meghan are anticipating immense upheaval in the monarchy. They both think this will have long-term consequences in how the institution is perceived, we're told. They're quite hopeful that this might now force some meaningful change, which probably should have happened a long time ago. And if people's dirty laundry is aired along the way, then so much the better. Now, this last story is actually clickbait, probably being used for distraction. Now, this tabloid magazine, New Idea, is from Australia. We see here the headline, "It's over," but when you look at the story, it's Harry and Meghan's Netflix deal over. It says here, Duchess hunts for next gig as Duke seeks reprieve. Goes on to say, 6 years after the Duke and Duchess of Sussex left behind royal life in the UK for a fresh start on their own terms in California, things haven't gone to plan. In my opinion, I don't think anything that Harry and Meghan were doing was intended for long term. I don't think that the business that Meghan has is serious. I don't think that this contract that Meghan had with Netflix was serious. I think it was all just a way to shift money around for the real work that they were doing, which was with this censorship, and also drive this Agenda 2030 on behalf of the Epstein class, aka the so-called globalist elite. Megxit was coming to the United States in 2020 to help the Biden regime and interfere with the 2020 election. It was all hands on deck to ensure that Donald Trump did not get back into office. You no longer can say that this is a conspiracy. Sure, I get it. In the very beginning, it was very foreign to everybody when I brought this up, and I shared that this is exactly what happened. But now it's all unfolded for everybody to see how involved the UK was with their meddling, especially with the CCDH. And the dirty tricks of the Labour government. And it all goes back tied to Epstein. But I digress, getting back to the article. With reports emerging that Netflix are officially done with the Sussexes, it seems the couple need to find new ways to create an impact that maintains their place on the A-list and also funds their lavish lifestyle. But the issue New Idea hears is that Prince Harry and Meghan are not on the same page about how to make that happen anymore. Meghan is convinced that if she can continue to build her as-ever brand, that will solve their problems, our source says. She's also keen to be visible at high-profile events to reinforce the narrative that everything is as it should be in their world. Meanwhile, Harry, says the source, is distancing himself from his wife's Hollywood ambitions because he's not convinced it's what he wants. While Harry joined Meghan at the Sundance Film Festival in January to promote Cookie Queens, the Girl Scout documentary they executive produced, onlookers noted he seemed uncomfortable and disengaged at times. The film is a passion project of Meghan's, who was a Girl Scout. No, she wasn't. That's a lie. New reports allege Netflix passed on acquiring the movie for distribution after not renewing with Love Meghan for a third season. Then, last week, a solo Meghan attended the 15% Pledge Gala in LA. She turned up in full kilowatt Hollywood glam, our source says. That's very much signaled she's not going anywhere, with or without the backing of big brands like Netflix. Meanwhile, Harry apparently remained at home in Montecito with their kids, Archie and little Betty. Harry's losing interest in walking red carpets with Meghan or schmoozing Hollywood types, our source says. His waning interest in that aspect of their lives may be a source of tension. According to a new cover report by Heat magazine, the couple are on different paths in their professional lives. While Meghan is still focused on Hollywood, Harry is pouring all his energy into Invictus and securing speaking gigs. He's also determined to reconcile with his family and spend more time in the UK. Harry is desperate to take the children home. New Idea's own source adds, but that is not a priority for Meghan. There is a real fork in the road coming up for them. They can continue on separate paths professionally, as currently seems to be the strategy, or they can try to find common ground. But what that may be remains to be seen. So you know what's very noticeable here? Is that when they do these campaigns, they choose to follow certain themes. And as we have been looking at these tabloid articles more frequently, we notice when they start running campaigns. And, for a while, we started to see all of these tabloid articles mentioning Harry getting a security back, Harry getting a security back. In all four of these articles, not one of them mentioned getting the security back. Back in the day, no one ever took these tabloids serious, but now realizing that the mainstream media is no better than these tabloid magazines and they're really just an extension or mouthpieces for these celebrities and politicians, that you have to look at each piece and try to understand what's the purpose of it being out there. Because with all these stories that are coming out about Harry and Meghan and being on the cover, it's not by accident. At this point in the game, if Harry and Meghan haven't threatened to sue, then they're in on it. And what we've learned over the years is that the royals use the media to essentially communicate with one another. But that's just my opinion. What do you guys think is going on here? It really does feel like Harry and Meghan are being used as the scapegoats to distract the world from the saga with Andrew and questioning the royal family. I mean, for the most part, these magazines that you see here, with the exception of one that's in the United States that doesn't seem to be tied to any side, you see the three magazines belong to the realm. You've got Australia and the UK being represented, only talking about garbage pertaining to Harry and Meghan. I think that's deliberate, in my opinion. But let me know your thoughts below. What did you guys think? Who do you think wrote these articles, or who do you think's behind these articles? Let me know in the comment section below, and as always, I will be back with more content, but until then, please be safe, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!
Such a fraud.